And we're live, ladies and gentlemen. This is your little friend Charlie Hunter in Bellows Falls, Vermont, and it's time for Benchley Night. How are y'all? I've been pretty good. The ongoing mess of the administration is disturbing. America's pitch into fascism is disturbing, but in terms of things I can control, things are pretty good. And in terms of some things I can't control, things are pretty good. Cat Charbonneau, came in even though it's not yet dark. And I think that's because it's kind of cold. And he thought it might be nice to be inside. And I'm glad he's inside. I'm glad you're all here. Hi, Nat. Hi, Nat. How are you doing? How are things out in Pittsburgh? How are things going with John Fetterman? Anyway, let us get going. Hi, Alicia. Good evening from the Whites, says Alicia. Well, good evening from the Greens. Oh, and here's Charbonneau to join us. Yeah. Hey, buddy. How's life? Pretty good? He really liked tonight's dinner. It was particularly toothsome, he thought. Anyway, so Charbo is here to get in the way as I try to read, because yes, he thinks I should be scratching his head, not holding a book. So there we go. Anyway, yeah. We have two Robert Benchleys tonight. We have Keep a Log and Duck Brothers. So let's get going with Keep a Log. In planning that, Charbonneau, please, I'm trying to read to these nice people. In planning that automobile trip up country this summer, don't forget, Charbo, don't forget to consult those notes you made last year when going over that same route. They're in that combination logbook and Japanese fan that you took along for just that purpose. These notes, most of which were jotted down en route, Charbo, you're going to upset my timing if you keep doing this. Yeah. These notes, most of which were jotted down en route, seem to have been made with the wrong end of the pencil. They are part lead markings and part wood carvings. It would be fun to dig up that pencil today just to take a look at it and see where the lead stopped and the wood began. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, excuse me. I am having a delicious Kingston Dry hard cider from Champlain Orchards in Shoreham, Vermont. It is I purchased it at Harlow Farm Stand, which is my favorite place in the world and is now open for the season. So any friends coming by, let's go get lunch at Cafe Loco at Harlow Farm Stand. Both the Cafe Loco is delicious and the Harlow Farm Stand is a thing of beauty. Right now it's asparagus season. I am eating delicious asparagus every evening. Thank you, Harlow Farm Stand. Anyway, let's dive back in. These notes, most of which were jotted down en route, seem to have been made with the wrong end of the pencil. They are part lead markings and part wood carvings. It would be fun to dig up that pencil today just to take a look at it and see where the lead stopped and the wood began. To make things harder, you apparently made the notes while taking part in a hill climbing contest when the car was at an angle of 45 degrees. They are the work of a man in rather desperate straits to keep himself in his seat, to say nothing of indulging in the luxury of writing. You could not have been as drunk as that. The first one, jotted down with great difficulty, was made opposite the name of the town East Mipford, 15 miles from your starting place. It says, as nearly as you can make out, simply East Mipford. This would seem rather silly, Presumably, you already knew the name of the town as it was right there in the map in plain letters. Why jot it down? Why jot it down again in that round, boyish hand of yours? Possibly you were just practicing handwriting. God knows you needed practice. Anyway, there is East Mipford, and opposite it, East Mipford. So East Mipford it is. It's a good thing to know at any rate. The next bit of puzzle was jabbed in. The next bit of puzzle work was jabbed into the paper at Orkington. Here you saw fit to write, no sporfit. Either this was meant Either this was meant Either this was meant as a warning that at Orkington one cannot get sporfit, or that it is dangerous to sporfit in or around Orkington. If you had some clearer idea of what sporfit was, then maybe your passage would. If you had some clearer idea of what sporfit was, you would know better how to regulate your passage through Orkington next year. The lack of sporfit last year must have been quite a trial to you. Otherwise, you would not have made a note of it. Well, better luck this time. At Animals Falls, you had what was designated as lunch, which is pretty easy to figure out. After it, however, is written Gleaver House, Central Hotel, Animal Falls Spa. That must have been a pretty good lunch to have included all three restaurants. And as you made no designation of which was best, the only thing to do is to try them all again next time. Perhaps you'll remember after ordering at the Gleaver House that it was the Central Hotel that was the best. Perhaps you meant that all three were rotten and that you should go on to the next town before eating. The only way to find out is to try. From then on, you are confronted by such notations as fresh cob at Turkville, which may mean fresh cop, or good fresh corn on the cob. Emily at North Neswick, which may be where you let Emily off, and steaming chal at Lurdling, which obviously means nothing. You arrived at your destination, according to the log, at 27 o'clock. That is the value of a logbook. It makes the second trip so much more interesting. All right, that's the first one, ladies and gentlemen. I love that one. I discovered that one on my own as a 12-year-old. That was never read to us by my father. I got the copy of my 10 Years in a Quandary and How They Grew, and I got to read all the other essays. It was a revelation. It was wonderful. The second one is also from the same book. Duck Brothers. Next month, and Charbonneau is fascinated. Charbonneau is having the best time. Here, I'll turn it more to him. Next month will be a bad one for those people who bruise easily, as meteor showers are predicted. It will be well for everyone to travel by subway as much as possible, or at any rate to hug up close to those buildings while walking along the street. Meteors can hurt. To forestall indignant letters from astronomers and ex-meteors, let me say that I know the difference between meteors and meteorites, and that meteorites are the only ones that could hurt if they hit you. But the way things are going today, it is safe to assume that what would ordinarily be a harmless meteor shower in normal years will end up by being, in this year of grace, a full-fledged rain of 10-ton flame balls, each one headed directly for the corner of the street on which you and I are standing. I know where I'm not wanted. That's why I decided to read this one today, ladies and gentlemen, was that sort of feels like what the world is like. On the map of the heavens, I note a group. Charbonneau, I need to move. I need to turn the page. I note a group of something called Delphinius, which has the nickname of Job's coffin. I have a hunch that my meteorite is coming from Job's coffin, straight as a die for the back of my neck. I can feel it now. Oh. And the next thing I know, I shall be MGOFEO, or part of an anorthite stick pin. Very rare, sir, very rare, dug out of a meteorite, which fell in the 20th century. The best part of a meteorite, I always try to look on the bright side, is that you can hear it coming. The sound has been variously described as that of the bellowing of oxen. Oh, Charbot's had enough. All right. The bellowing of oxen, the roaring of a fire in the chimney, and the tearing of calico. I certainly hope that mine does not sound like the tearing of calico, as that is a sound that drives me crazy. I would almost rather be hit by the meteorite without any warning. Now, cross that out, Miss Schwab, please. I suppose that the thing to do when you see a meteorite hurtling through the air at you is to stand like an outfielder until you see just what direction it is taking. And then, instead of running for it, run sharply to the right or to the left. You'd have to decide immediately whether it was going to be to the right or the left and stick to it, as any attempt at broken field running would be silly. You might keep looking up every now and then as you ran, just to make sure that there wasn't a companion piece coming along with the one you were dodging. But the main idea would just be to keep running. This is only a tentative plan that I've worked out, and I might think up some other scheme on the spur of the moment. But without being a fatalist, however, I suppose there's not much sense in planning ahead on evading a meteorite. If you are going to get hit, you are going to get hit. And then that is an end to it, to put it mildly. The best one can do is to keep a stiff upper lip and not let the women folk know that you're worried. Just the same, I'll be very glad when these June meteor showers are over and we can all come out into the open again. Still, I suppose if it isn't meteorites, it will be something else. All right, now it is still only 7:58 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. These are very short pieces. So let's do one more. I'll just do the next one, called what? No Budapest? And also, Charbot has gone, so now my concentration can be more on the reading than dealing with he's a really nice cat. He's a really nice cat, ladies and gentlemen, but he gets filthy outside. And he comes in and he's all lovey-dovey and rolling around. He wants to roll on the keyboard and he's shedding just grime everywhere. But now he's off there somewhere. What? No Budapest? A few weeks ago in this space, I wrote a little treatise on movie boners, in which I tried to follow the popular custom of picking technical flaws out of motion pictures. Detecting, for example, that when a character enters a room, he has on a bow tie, and when he leaves, he has on a four-in-hand. In the course of this fascinating article, I wrote, in the picture called Dr. Tanner Can't Eat, Robert Benchley is so funny. I love that. In the picture called Dr. Tanner Can't Eat, there is a scene laid in Budapest. There is no such place as Budapest. Well, in answer to this, I've received the following communication from M. Schwartzer of New York City. Ask for your money back from your geography teacher. There is such a place as Budapest, and it's not a small village either. Budapest is the capital of Hungary. In case you never heard of Hungary, it's in Europe. Do you know where Europe is? Respectfully yours, etc., etc. I am standing by my guns, Mr. Schwartzer. There is no such place as Budapest. Perhaps you're thinking of Bucharest. There's no such place as Bucharest either. I gather that your geography teacher didn't tell you about the Treaty of Ulm in 1802, in which Budapest was eliminated. By the terms of this treaty, and I quote from memory, "Be it hereby enacted that there shall be no more Budapest. This city has been getting altogether too large lately, and the coffee hasn't been any too good either. So, no more Budapest is the decree of this conference, and if the residents don't like it, they can move to some other place." This treaty was made at the close of the War of 1805, which was unique in that it began in 1805 and ended in 1802, thereby confusing the contestants so that both sides gave in at once. Budapest was the focal point of the war, as the Slovenes were trying to get rid of it to the Balks, and the Balks were trying to make the Slovenes keep it. This will explain, Mr. Schwartzer, why there is no such place as Budapest. If any word other than mine were needed to convince you that you have made a rather ludicrous mistake in this matter, I will quote from a noted authority on non-existent cities, Dr. Almer Dr. Pinks, professor of obduracy at the university of that same name. In his Vanished Cities of Central Europe, he writes, "Since 1802, there has been no such place as Budapest. It is too bad, but let's just face it." Or, again, from Nerdligen's Atlas, revised for the Carnation Show in London of 1921. "A great many uninformed people look in their atlases for the city of Budapest and complain to us when they cannot find it. Let us take this opportunity to make it clear that there is no such place as Budapest, and has not been one since 1802. The spot which was once known as Budapest is now known as the Danube River by Strauss. I would not rebuke you so publicly, Mr. Schwartzer, had it not been for that crack of yours about my geography teacher. My geography teacher was a very fine woman, and later became the mother of 4 bouncing boys, 2 of whom are still bouncing. She knew about what happened to Budapest, and she made no bones about it. In future communications with me, I will thank you to keep her name out of this brawl." All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that is Benchley Night for tonight. That is Benchley Night for tonight. I'm not going to read the whole list of donors because I still haven't made the snazzy graphic of it, but here's the list. And like a YouTuber, I could go like, here's the list, and then your name passes by very, very quickly. And of course, we need a shout out from the unidentified unglet. This is the electronic one. I think I'll read the names every other week, but of course, I can never end a Benchley Night without acknowledging where all the unidentified unglets in cans come from. And that is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where they're having to deal with Mr. John Fetterman. And they come from my very, 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 very tall cousin, his wonderful wife, Elise, and their wee little dog, Ginger. You all take good care, ladies and gentlemen. You all take good care out there. And we'll see you next week for another Benchley Night. Bye-bye.